Hello, everybody. Mike Barr here with Castle Rock Safety. It is January 24th, 2024. So this is the my first video of the new year. Hope everybody had a great holiday and Happy New Year, and I hope everybody has a great year. So just kind of a little update. It appears that we've had a couple of incidents this week. The report is that there was an incident, both incidents actually, I think in Florida. One happened day before yesterday, and I don't really have any details on it. It was just reported that there had been an incident and no real detail, which is common. I mean, people talk, oh, something happened, but we a lot of times we just don't know what it is. And then, of course, yesterday we got a report that a crane with a man basket on it had overturned down in Florida, and a couple of linemen were life flighted to the hospital. Don't really have any details there either, whether or not all the only report we got was that they were in serious condition. But apparently the truck overturned. They were about 100 feet in the air or so, and came down, of course, with the truck. So not a lot of details there. Really have no clue why the truck overturned. Typically, situations like that indicate that possibly the truck was either being operated outside of its limits, or possibly it was on some unstable ground and may have tipped that way. So we'll get more details, obviously, but things just keep happening. They just keep rolling along, and every time we have something happen, we get a lot of feedback on some of these Facebook groups and on Reddit, and people talk about how people are offering their sympathy and their thoughts and their prayers, and that's all well and good. I got no issues with that. The problem is we just don't talk about stuff like we should, and I don't know, man. People say it's complicated, and yeah, I don't think it is. I don't think it is complicated. We're not going to solve anything if we don't start maybe talking about the hard stuff, what happened. And the problem is things are happening so rapidly, we barely got time to think about one incident, and there's another one. And I think people have just almost become maybe desensitized to what's going on. So I've decided I'm going to start selecting once a week a particular incident and talk about it a little bit, about who the people are that are involved, because these are real people with families, with obligations and dreams and hopes and excuse me, and it, to me, it's just sad the way that we kind of move on, and we don't even really talk about who the people are that are getting involved with these things. So I've decided that once a week, I'm going to pull up an incident, and believe me, you go into the OSHA database and there's no shortage of things to talk about. But the one I selected first, the one I want to talk about here, and again, I'm not going to get into a lot of deep detail on this. I just want people to understand who these people are, and a little bit about what happened, what some of the violations were, and so we can maybe think about these people a bit and think about what a tragedy it is that we're losing so many typically young, bright people out of our family. And so this first one I want to talk about happened a couple of years ago in Alabama, and it's what makes, to me, this one so tragic is that the two employees that were killed in this incident were so young. These kids, literally, they were just kids, and so I went into the OSHA database and I pulled up a few things, and again, I'm not going to get into a great deal of detail because simply don't have the information. OSHA doesn't give us a whole lot here. But basically, the description here in the OSHA database was that at 10:45 a.m. on August 31st, 2021, and I remember this real clearly when this one happened, and I looked at it a bit and looked at some of the news articles, and it just broke my heart. August 31st, 2021, two employees, both apprentice linemen, were working on a 1700 volt electrical distribution line to restore power after a severe summer storm. The employees were attempting to repair a downed power line before isolating the live electrical source, and both of these individuals were electrocuted. So who were these kids? Well, Eli Nathaniel Babb, 19, of Clayton, Alabama, and Leighton Elison, also 19, of Alexandria, Virginia. Man, these are young kids. These kids in no way had any kind of experience that was necessary to be able to assess the hazards that they were exposed, that obviously they were exposed to on this day. And again, I don't know a lot of the details. From some of the data that I can find, it indicates that there was possibly 6 people on the job during this event, and I don't know where they were, who they were, where they were located. But there is some indication that there may have been 6 people on the job. So I just want to read a little bit here. And guys, I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody. I don't want to call anybody out. Everything that I've got here, all the information that I have comes straight off. It's all public domain. There's nothing. It's either from OSHA or it's from news reports. It's statements from the companies that were involved. And again, I'm not trying to single anybody out. I'm not trying to paint anybody as a villain here at all. I just think that we need to talk about this stuff and make sure that we do a proper job of analyzing the kinds of things that are happening out there. And again, people tell me all the time, Mike, you make it too simple. You're simplifying things. Well, I don't think I am. The methods that we have to prevent these things, they're in place. We have the procedures. We have the knowledge. We have the training. We have the personal protective equipment. We have everything in place in our industry to prevent this. So just want to read a little bit here from some of the statements. It was yesterday morning, and Leighton, along with his fellow power company workers, were doing what they always did. They were helping restore power, helping families get back to their lives. So Leighton Elison and his co-worker, Eli Babb, reported to duty. As the two linemen got to work, a horrible incident unfolded, and Leighton and Eli came into contact with energized power line. And Leighton and Eli were both gone. Now, again, I don't know what kind of instructions they were given that morning. I don't know what consisted during their job briefing. I don't know if they had a foreman with them on that job. There just isn't enough information to make any kind of a determination. But I think what we can do and probably have a lot of confidence in, that these two individuals at 19 years old, barely out of high school, had the kind of experience, training, and the necessary tools. When I mean tools, I mean hazard assessment and the ways to avoid the kind of situation they got into. I just don't believe they could have been to the point where we could assume that they could have safely analyzed this situation and not gotten themselves into trouble. So authorities said the workers were electrocuted when they came in contact with the energized power line. Both were pronounced dead on the scene at 11:20 a.m. Alabama Power released this statement. We have been made aware of a tragic accident involving Pike Electric employees supporting Alabama Power in storm restoration. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Pike family during this difficult time. And these are difficult times. Every company, and I've been in these situations with companies that I've worked for and had to go through the process of dealing with a workplace fatality, and it's tough. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many times you go through it. It's tough. And again, I'm not trying to single anybody out. It's just I'm reporting the way that things are. It's everything out there is again, it's in public domain, and it's not hard to find. So. Senior Vice President of Pike Electric called it a horrible day. Both workers were from Alabama, he said. We're continuing to investigate the tragic accident that occurred in Alabama earlier today that has evidently taken the lives of two of our workers. Our prayers are with each of the families. And again, very difficult thing to go through, and it's just not. It's not something that I wished that no company should have to go through this, and it's not an easy thing. So, all right. So, well, let's look at what OSHA says about this when it comes to citations, right? What did they come up with? Well, there were basically 3 citations, and for each employee, it literally basically the same thing. Citation number one, each qualified employee was not trained and competent in the recognition of electrical hazards to which the employee may be exposed and the skills and techniques necessary to control or avoid these hazards. Now, again, I don't know what kind of training they had. I'm sure OSHA obviously looked into this, and they were not confident that these 2 employees had received the kind of training that they should have gotten to be able to recognize and take the necessary steps to ensure that these hazards were addressed. So that was number one. Just simply, OSHA was not satisfied that they had been trained properly. And then there was a second citation when 2 or more employees were performing field work on or associated with exposed lines or equipment. The employer did not provide at least 2 trained persons with first aid training. So again, I'm not sure who was on site. The citation indicates that possibly there was a crew of, basically what it says is at least the employer did not have the available at least 2 trained persons with first aid training when a crew of 6 employees were performing field work on or associated with exposed lines or equipment. So, and again, I don't know, had they been there, whether or not it would have made the kind of difference that it could have, whether they'd have had an AED right there. I don't know what the situation was, but OSHA, of course, was not satisfied that we had the properly trained first aid and response that could have been something that could have helped these individuals. Now, this one to me, I think, is of course the most critical, and this would not necessarily been, of course, these 2 young apprentices' responsibility because they weren't trained properly. They weren't linemen, and this one, of course, a very common citation whenever we have this kind of situation. The employer shall ensure that all switches, disconnects, jumpers, taps, and other means which known sources of electric energy may be supplied to a particular line and equipment to be de-energized and open. Okay. And then, of course, we're going to do our tagging, lock and tagging. So that was something that did not occur, obviously. Employees were exposed to electrocution hazards while making repairs on a down power line where the employee did not ensure that all equipment was effectively de-energized, such that employees working on the ground were protected from hazardous energy. So, guys, this is not, these are not difficult things for us to understand. You know, we know that a line obviously has to be considered energized unless it has been rendered, de-energized and verified and tested and grounded. And none of that happened. And it's just an oversight that it's just not necessary. So that's kind of what happened in this particular case. And again, I don't have all the details. I don't know precisely, who was on the job. I don't know what happened in the morning job brief. Whether these two just took off on their own and maybe assumed because a line was laying on the road or in somebody's yard and it was just laying there that it had to be de-energized. There's a lot of things that could have been part of the circumstances which led up to this. So, but I tell you, I've spent the last couple of days going through the OSHA database and looking at all the fatalities. And I'm telling you guys, there's no surprises here. When you go and look at the database and you start looking at what's going on, and a lot of people like to say that people are making mistakes when these things occur. And I'm telling you, a lot of times they're not mistakes. Mistake to me has a whole different meaning and a whole different context when you start thinking about, to me, these are just plain, a lot of these, and I'll be talking about, I'm going to take one a week. These are just oversights. These are just people that are so comfortable with taking shortcuts that they've taken time and time and time again, that they're just so complacent and they're so confident that they can just keep doing what they're doing. And so we're not testing, we're not grounding, we're not putting on our personal protective equipment, we're not using the cover where we should. We're not stepping up with the stop work like we should. There are so many things that are involved here, but guys, they're not. Again, as we go through these, week after week, I think it's going to be pretty clear that the things that lead up to this are clear. That there's certain things that we're taught. There's certain things that we know and understand, that if we follow it, it's gonna prevent this stuff. So that's what I wanted to talk about this week. I know there's not a lot of detail in this, and it is. I wish we had more information. I wish that as these companies finish their accident investigations, that we could have more access to it, because that's how we're going to learn. And I just want to put a face to the names. And a lot of times, guys, we don't even know the names of people. We just hear there's been a contact, and unless you go out and actually start looking, and I don't know how many people really get into what happened and who they are, and I mean, the information's out there if you want to find it, but um, I think if we personalize some of this, that maybe it will feel different. I don't know. It just seems again like we're getting maybe desensitized, and the things come so rapidly that we just it's just another incident. And there was a Facebook group that I follow, and that reports things when they happen. And again, there's lots of comments, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. Well, somebody yesterday, got on and said, look, guys, thoughts and prayers ain't going to cut it. That's not going to stop this. We gotta do some other things. So I think if we talk about it more, we personalize it, and I think as we get the information as quick as we can, we should be having this discussion, about who it is and how it happened, and talking about it at our safety meetings, and looking at who these people are, and what the mistakes were made. So guys, just to finish up, keep a positive attitude. Keep your safety attitude. Be alert all the time to potential danger. Uh, the mistakes, the shortcuts that we take on our industry, they're predictable. We know pretty much what's going to happen, but it's very unforgiving. When things happen, it's usually not good. So trust your instincts. Be aware of your surroundings all the time. Situational awareness. Know where those energized conductors are. Make sure you've got enough cover up there. Don't skimp on your cover. Don't skimp on your personal protective equipment. If you're going to be anywhere near that MAD distance, make sure you're doing what it takes to avoid that contact, and avoid anything that doesn't feel safe. And gosh damn it, when you're on the ground, and you're the observer, whether you're the designated observer or not, speak up. Stop people, talk about it. Be vigilant. Be prepared for anything that can happen, because things are going to change. Things are going to change, and we got to be on our toes, right? And if you guys that are crew leaders, excuse me, I've got a little bit of a cold. You foremen and crew, you're the first line of defense. Yeah, everybody's responsible for their own safety, granted, but as the foreman and the crew leader, you're the one that controls that culture. You're the one that builds that culture, and you got to have that proper safety attitude. You got to be aware of those unsafe conditions, the behaviors, any kind of defective equipment, whatever it is. It's your responsibility to keep people on their toes, right? Keep them out of harm's way. It's your job. But again, I'm not saying that people can't, people make their own decisions, but my gosh, the leader out there, he's the one that's going to control that culture. So nobody knows your job better than you do. That's why you're in the position you're in, because you know the job, you know how to get the work done. But you've also got that responsibility to make sure that my gosh, if you've got apprentices out there, no way in hell should they be in a situation. And I know storm work's different, and it can get very chaotic, but anyway, if the work's unsafe, stop it, and always communicate with your crews. Communication is the key to a lot of this. We can eliminate these SIFs, and we just have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And I preach this anytime I can get in front of a class. I you know, we have what it takes. We've got the brightest people, and we have what it takes, and we should not be in the top 10 of the most hazardous uh, jobs in America based on the incidents that are occurring. We should be at a point where we're not there. So take the time and energy to to do your job right, and make it a habit to follow these procedures. And as always, I like to ask people how comfortable you are, because if you're too comfortable, that's when shortcuts get taken. So ask yourself, where's your acceptable level of risk? Where is it? Because we're all natural risk takers, but some people's risk levels are higher than others. Where's yours? What price are you willing to pay, physically and monetarily? And you always got to ask yourself, who else is going to pay when I take this shortcut? And I was taught a long time ago, back when I first got started in safety back in the 80s. I watched somebody give a talk one day, and they talked about how selfish it was to take shortcuts when it came to our work practices. And he's absolutely right, because it's not just you that's going to suffer the consequences of a workplace incident. It's not just you. It's your wife, it's your kids, it's your mother, it's your father, it's your whole extended family, it's your employer, it's everyone involved. It's not just you. It's going to cost everybody, and that's a selfish thing to do. So, excuse me again. Uh, so just to finish it up, remember, as always, you're the last one to have the hands on it. You're the last one to have that thought, that chain of thought go through your mind on what got you where you're at right now, and what you're about to do, and what the potential outcome is. If I'm going to grab this conductor, what's the potential outcome? Especially if I haven't assured that it's been tested and grounded. So that's my thought for the day, and I hope maybe we find some of this beneficial. I want to talk about some of these incidents in a little bit more detail than what we normally do, and I just don't want to move on, and because what's happening is unacceptable. So anyway, take care, and we'll talk to you next time.